Welcome to the Civic Pulse with David Bonior, Brian Brady, and Stephen Briggs. This is a special episode on Wednesday, February 18th at 8:15. We normally do these on Sunday, but we had a family a fractured foot, so we delayed it to Wednesday, which made the news cycle change to some new news. David and Stephen, good to see you. But we have Reverend Jesse Jackson has passed. So let's start the segment. How are you doing? And then how do you tell us about your relationships and thoughts around Reverend Jackson's passing? Congressman, let's start with you.
Well, I worked with Jesse Jackson for a lot of years, sometimes closely, sometimes just as part of a coalition of people working on an issue. And he was quite a guy. He was very smart, very passionate, charismatic when you're around him, and kind of quiet in a group until it was his turn to speak. Always observing, tough guy. I had a personal relationship with him based on athletics. He got a football scholarship. He went to high school in South Carolina. Then he got a scholarship at the University of Illinois, Big Ten school, as a quarterback. And I got a scholarship to Iowa as a quarterback. Now, he was 3 years older than I was, but we had similar kind of experiences with that.
They wouldn't let him play quarterback in Illinois because they didn't allow black quarterbacks back then, right?
Right, yeah, exactly. And so anyway, we worked on NAFTA together quite a bit. He was very interested in the North American Free Trade Agreement because he saw what it would do to working men and women. And he saw the injustice of it. And he was very good. And he was a great organizer with Operation Push and the Rainbow Coalition. And they both came together eventually, both of those groups. And he was a close friend of course, of Martin Luther King. As a young man, only 24, he worked very side by side with him and some of the other heavyweights in the civil rights movement. Was with him when he was shot on the balcony of the Lorraine Hotel in Memphis. And he ran for president twice. And the second time did very well. He came in second, I think, to Dukakis in '88, if I recall correctly. Very good organizer, and used that opportunity to organize people around the country, and particularly in Illinois and Chicago. A man who accomplished quite a bit in his lifetime, and who in the last maybe fifth of his life suffered from Parkinson's and this other ailment that we revealed that he had some neurological issues. But anyway, he had a very full and active, and I think for the most part, a very positive life.
88 convention, right? He changes the rules for selecting presidential candidates out of the winner-take-all system, and you don't get Obama probably without that important change.
That's an important point. Yeah.
Stephen, what's the impact of Reverend Jackson on your life?
I mean, I would say, being growing up in the late 60s, 70s, as a Black person, you really reached out, and, when you saw somebody who looked like you, it was kind of uplifting. And obviously someone who could speak like Jackson, really kind of and convey and make you feel what he was saying. It was important. He was a big part of, I think, people like myself at that time, because it was really the only person you were seeing. I mean, you would see John Lewis and some others occasionally, but he was in the spotlight. And so it made you kind of feel included in the process, which you really kind of didn't feel prior to that. And I think the one thing I found that kind of comes to current day is the fact that his one hot mic moment, which kind of changed, and that comment he made about New York, how that just for the rest of his career stuck with him, while we have somebody in the White House now who says things along those lines much worse than that daily. And there's no ramifications for it. And the fact that kind of stuck with him his entire life, it's crazy how bad it's become, I think, in our politics.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I was thinking that if Jackson was coming of age in this moment, he would have been even a bigger political force because of handsome, brilliant, just knew how to organize, get people's attention, populist in his politics, right? I think he would have had a better shot at being president now, coming of age now, because of his political skills and savviness. And then his brand of politics has actually, I think, become the norm now, even on the Democratic and Republican side, right?
Definitely.
Find the cameras. I have one funny Jesse Jackson story. I kept him out of getting arrested one day when I was 19 years old. I was interning for David's friend, Congressman Tom Downey, on Capitol Hill. And the big protest at that time was they were shutting the Library of Congress to like 30 hours a week. Reagan was, and it seems like a pretty small, funny issue now considering the issues. But we were out there protesting, and I would sneak out of my internship, and we had a big protest, and we were looking to get arrested. And Jesse Jackson comes to the protest, and I wasn't looking to get arrested. I should be clear, but some of the organizers were. So they were in the Library of Congress, and the organizers were saying, "Jesse, let's lock it down. They're closing it up. Let's get arrested." And he clearly, you can tell he doesn't want to. And I'm leaning in, trying to listen to the conversation in the crowd, and he's looking around for help. You can see, and he turns, he points at me. "What do you think?" I was like, "Well, the U.S. bombed Libya today, so you're not going to get a lot of media attention. So maybe go outside and talk to the reporters and come back and get arrested another day." He was like, "That's a good idea."
That's a
grabs
great
my arm,
story.
and we march out together.
Great story, Brian.
That's great.
Then we come out. One of the funny addendum to it is we come out and we're out the August, front of the Library of Congress, and we're standing on. And I stop on top of the steps, like, we should make a statement there. And he looks at me and goes, "The reporters are all down below." We should go down there. So, no, he was a brilliant guy. I thought, the one speech I queued up here was the American Quilt speech. He gave two great convention speeches, right? 1984 and 1988. The Quilt speech, I think, is he outlines the challenge of winning as a Democrat, in my mind, how to be inclusive of all of different identities and races and religions in our party, but still remain one quilt, right? I still see that as the great American challenge. But any speech that you all liked in particular?
Well, I remember both conventions I was at in 84 and 88. I think it was the 84. We had three incredible speeches, back-to-back speeches that I haven't heard in my political life. His was one, Jesse Jackson's speech. Gary Hart was another. And then the keynote address by Mario Cuomo was just unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
But they were just three. It was like sometimes you get in a situation where you're with heavyweights or compatriots or the same kind of level you are, and you're you're going to be speaking together, and it really kind of lifts everybody up because everyone knows they've got to be on their best to be on the stage with the people they're with. And it was just a magnificent convention in terms of speeches. it didn't yield us very much. We had tough years, although 84 wasn't bad congressionally, but we got creamed. Mondale was beaten him very soundly, and then Dukakis as well in 88.
Yeah, it looks like we lost Stephen temporarily, but he's going to dial back in with us. David, would it's interesting that you had these populist Cuomo and Jackson in those early 80s yourself, but in the end you get Clinton, a centrist, winning in 88 and moving the party to the center more, right? Or no, I mean Clinton won in 92.
92, yeah.
Yeah. Why didn't the populists like Jackson and Cuomo actually win the day and carry us towards a more progressive future, you think?
Well, I don't know the answer to that. Reagan was very tough. I mean, he was well liked. He was he had that show sponsored by 20 Mule Teen Borax. That was, I can't think of the name of the show offhand, but it was on every night and during the weekend, once a week, and he was just very appealing, and his popularity started to really increase. And he beat an incumbent president, which was significant. He, by the way, was from Illinois as well. Dixon, I think, as I recall.
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan. But anyway, so he was just a tough customer to take on at the polls.
Yeah.
And if he wouldn't have been around, we might have been able to accelerate the progressive movement electorally at the presidential level a lot earlier than we were able to do. Because
welcome back, Stephen.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Internet went down. Sorry.
No worries.
So, we were just talking about the elections in 88 and 84. And Brian asked the question, why, Clinton took us to the center, but why couldn't we have more progressivism in the 80s? And I was suggesting Ronald Reagan was just a very tough customer to dislodge. And I think the answer back then why the progressives weren't doing well is because we had the populist uprising on the left or in the progressive movement was starting to tire on a lot of Americans, I think. Mm-hmm. When I say tire, I mean, it was the 60s and the 70s, and it was the countercultural stuff, and it was just, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then Reagan came along on his white horse and his 20 Mule Teen Borax TV show that he had, and he became just enormously hard to dislodge. He was a very popular president.
Interesting. Well, let's segue to the fight that's roiling Washington right now, right? The shutdown of Department of Homeland Security, that monstrous agency we created 20 plus years ago after 9/11, right?
Yeah.
And so, and I see this on the Democratic base has become angrier and angrier, David, right? And so,
right.
And they want just to burn it down, shut it down, but that's not how these things tend to end. Stephen, where are you on this? Are you what do you think the Democrats should demand in this negotiation and settle? In the end, they probably got to settle for something, because you can't shut down something forever, probably.
Yeah.
Well, it might be nice.
Yeah, and they'll just pull money from other areas, discretionary money anyway, to keep it running. But I think we had discussed before that it's just they can't go for the whole enchilada. They have to kind of pick and choose and realize that this is going to be a slow battle. They just have to take a few steps forward and not try to take a huge leap. And I think those small things are we all know those things: the masks, the cameras, proper warrants. Maybe it seems to be kind of big now, these huge facilities they're trying to build throughout, nixing some of those things, or at least putting limits on those, or quality, making sure that a certain quality and level of for people that are being put in there. But I think they're just going to have to do a small targeted things. It also doesn't seem to be like dominating the news like a real government shutdown does, because it's just not affecting as many people. So I just don't know whether they're going to get that kind of enthusiasm from, I just don't know where it's going to come from, because it's just not that big of a thing. It's not that big in the news. I guess that's what I'd say.
It starts affecting air travel, maybe.
Yeah, if they get into TSA and TSA guys aren't getting paid, and ladies, they're not going to show up for work. They don't show up for work. Then you're going to have slowdowns in the airlines, and I think that could really change the dynamics here. But yeah, I think it's important, though, and I think it's reachable. The things that you mentioned, Stephen, those issues are getting some action on them, especially the cameras which basically Republicans have agreed to. Then you've got an issue with warrants, which is something could be worked out, it seems to me there. And then, of course, what was the first one we were talking? Mask.
Yeah.
The Republicans are being very resistant to getting rid of masks, because they think their employees would be in ICE and would be liable to be getting hurt. So anyway, but I think they will get there and settle it. As you pointed out, they've got to settle it.
I'd add to the list that I think we said about 5 things. There is the Kavanaugh, the roving bans and Kavanaugh style stops, just picking up people. Maybe that happens because of the warrants piece, but that to me is you got roving bands of people with masks just grabbing black and brown folks, right?
Yeah, it's terrible. The profiling is just outrageous.
Yeah. So I'm hoping we dig in hard on this, and Schumer actually drives a hard bargain. In our Illinois Senate race, by the way, we have a really tight Senate race, and one of the candidates who's maybe a favorite just came out against Schumer leading the Senate, which I thought was an interesting break. She's Juliana Stratton, the current lieutenant governor. So it'd be interesting to see if Schumer, how this ends, if Schumer actually becomes a part of Senate races, and whether you support him or not.
Oh yeah, I can tell you from experience in these leadership elections, he will be talking and involved deeply in all of these races, financially as well as otherwise. I'm talking about Schumer if he decides to continue on. And so, yeah, where is she from, by the way? I'm not familiar with this candidate.
She's Pritzker's lieutenant governor, so Pritzker's backing her. And we have three really good candidates. Robin Kelly is a congresswoman from Chicago, from the South Side, who's really strong. And then you have Raja Krishnamurthy, who's a Democratic centrist. He was on the Make the Challenge board. I know. Really good guy, but a centrist, and he super organized, got out ahead in the polls, but now they're reeling him back in. My prediction is Stratton will win because she's a good candidate and Pritzker's money.
Yeah. So this is for the Durbin seat, Durbin held for so long.
Yeah, exactly. So, and racial politics, as you know, and Democratic primaries are strong here. So
yeah, and you've got a congressional one too going on in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, Jan Schakowsky stepped down, and we have Kat Abu Ghazali, a 26-year-old influencer, neck and neck with a couple candidates.
That's they're doing quite well, these young influencers in polls. So
yeah,
let's see, 26 just made it. You got to be 25. You get in the House.
She's a Palestinian descendant from a pretty wealthy family in Texas. So
that's right. Yeah, I read that. Yeah.
It's interesting. It's been traditionally a Jewish seat, but the Jewish community in this district is split between AIPAC supporters and really anti-APAC
Yeah.
folks. It's an interesting politics here. So, hey, voter suppression. So now you see Trump with Epstein, with his low polling on immigration and the Epstein files kicking his butt every day. He's trying to change the subject to the fiction that votes are being stolen, right? And to implement these voter ID laws. I haven't followed the nuances of it, but Stephen, what do you think of this whole strategy? And it seems like it's getting, at least Fox News is giving it a lot of attention. Does it have a shot of passing these SAVE acts and different acts?
I mean, I can't say that I'm up on all of it as much as I probably should be, but I know that from that base, that MAGA base, that's a huge topic which they can really kind of rally around. Another one, I mean, obviously immigration used to be their huge thing. Now it's because it's become so controversial, even some of the MAGA people are kind of stepping back from that. But this is one they can all kind of latch onto, and I think that's obviously why they're promoting it so much on Fox News. I think it's clear that it's going to, this kind of thing is going to clear through the House, that they'll get that support, enough support in the House to do it. But I just don't see where it goes in the Senate. I mean, I just can't see some of they're not going to, just unless they do away with the filibuster, there's just no way it's going to get through the Senate. So,
David, would they go nuclear on this to please the big man?
Oh, I don't think so.
No,
but I don't know.
You said John Thune was underneath it might actually have might be a human being under there.
Well, we don't know yet. We're waiting for Godot to show up. We don't know if it's there, but personality-wise, you would think so. But you need, if you're a leader in the Senate and in the House, as Speaker Johnson has found out, you need to have the guy at the top at your side in that kind of political arena that they live in, the Republican world. So we'll see. But I think Stephen's right. I mean, I just don't think that'll happen in the Senate. And I'm not sure it'll even happen in the House, because more and people are starting to step away from Trump and showing a little bit of independence, not a lot, but a little bit. So that would be an interesting test.
Yeah, the messaging, the Democrats are less flat-footed than they used to be, but they're still a little flat-footed. So that, everyone's like, hey, what's the big deal about showing a picture ID at the polls? And then the Democrats are starting to figure out you have to bring your marriage certificate if you're married and your name changed to the polls, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Does anybody know where any of that stuff is?
No.
I don't think so.
They want to have a passport to register to vote.
But to register, that those things are required, and people do it. They find a way to get the documents and register, but to bring them to the polls every time you're going to vote.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's a big deal. But ironically, since the poll, working class white voters, non-college educated, have become such a big part of the Republican Party. It's kind of funny that this could actually backfire.
Right, yeah.
So, not that many of those guys have passports, so I'm ethnically stereotyping the white community here.
I'll leave that to you. Yes.
Hey, to close out here, let's talk Ukraine and the Olympics. Ukraine, for the first time in 2.5 years, has taken back 200 square kilometers of land, David. And I know you follow the Ukraine news. It's kind of no one in America has really been talking about that, but how the heck have they counterpunched being so short on manpower?
Well, they have done it with technology to some extent. They have superior technology as we know, in drones. They're leading the world in that. And also, they've got these man-made robots now that are doing a lot of the fighting. So, and on the other hand, the Russians have taken a ghastly number of casualties in this war. Dead and wounded is more so than what we took in all of World War II. I mean, it's quite amazing. It's just a brutal war. I mean, we're sort of separated from it because there's not a lot of filming going on that we see on the news of the fighting on the front lines, but it's just horrific. And so, yeah, I think we're getting closer and closer to the crunch time when things are going to collapse for the Russians, because they're not replacing the people they're losing now for the first time in the last 2 or 3 months. They haven't been able to replace them because the numbers are so heavy. I mean, they're losing thousands, tens of thousands of people each month in this battle against Ukraine, trying to steal Ukraine territory, and it's not working. They haven't made any progress basically in
Very inch
in
by
years.
inch.
In
Yeah.
years, I mean, they may pick up a town and then they may lose the town back, and they're not getting anywhere at the present moment. So, and the Ukrainians are just very resilient and they're smart. I mean, what's really hitting the Ukrainians hard right now is the weather.
Yeah.
And the weather is killing them because the Russians are killing them and destroying their infrastructure for heating, like in Kyiv, for instance. All that stuff, those big apartment buildings, a city of 3 million people, huge apartment complexes that the Soviets put together when they were in charge. Well, they have a central water heat system that triggers the electrical needs and everything, and that they destroyed. The Russians have destroyed in the war, and so many of hundreds of these buildings throughout Kyiv, and so you've got all these people sleeping in below zero temperatures.
Yes.
And it's just pretty bad. So now, one way that the Ukrainians are working hard to try to resolve that is to get those Patriot missiles, which can protect them in the skies better than what they have now. And I just saw yesterday. I was watching Amonpour, which is very good. If anybody is looking for a good show to watch, she was interviewing Zelensky, the president of the European Parliament, a very impressive woman from the northern one of the northern European countries, and Senator Whitaker of Mississippi, our Senator Whitaker, who is actually very good on Ukraine, and then Mark Rutte, who is the head of the EU, and so former president of the Netherlands. She had this interview with the three of them, and Zelensky was on the panel.
Yeah.
And so they're doing lots of interesting things, but during that discussion, they talked about Germany. Well, first of all, the European Parliament has appropriated $90 billion for Ukraine. I mean, that's basically to fill the gap that we were providing. And so that became good news. And then the second good piece was that the Germans and I can't remember the other country who have Patriots or one of the Nordic countries Norway, I believe it was, are going to provide.
The Europeans are really holding them up. Yeah.
Yeah, holding it up. So
Elon Musk was a secret hero of this counterattack, though, David, because he turned off the Starlinks.
Starlink, yeah, that's what I heard.
Well, for the Russians, yeah.
From the Russians, and it really hurt their drones attack. And then my Ukrainian wife said there was a bait and switch that the Ukrainians tricked the Russians into jumping into a town and then surrounded them well. I don't know if that's true, but that's the Ukrainian gossip line from my house.
No, I read a story about that as well. The Ukrainians are just very smart and clever in war. They're just very good at it because they've had to be their whole existence, and they've always had to deal with the Russians. And so So there's some positive news in that respect, but
Sure.
these talks are going absolutely nowhere.
No.
And I don't expect them to go anywhere. I think the thing that might change the dynamics in this kind of stalemate that we have in the war is if we do the sanctions on oil, go after that piece and shut that faucet off that the Russians have been living on. And then with that could make a significant difference. So there's a vote that hopefully will be scheduled soon. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting. I don't know what the deal is, why we're waiting so long, but it's got bipartisan support, Republicans and Democrats. We get that done. I guess they're worried about whether Trump's going to sign the thing or not.
Well, let's pivot. Let's close here, Stephen. Add your Ukraine thoughts, but let's close on an upbeat note. It's midweek. We need a little boost in all this troubled time. What's been your favorite Olympic sport to watch here, or Olympic moment as you go on? And toss in your Ukraine opinion too, as well.
I would. My quick Ukraine opinion would be yes. I think I've heard that the Starlink was a key part of that. The fact that, as David said, they can't seem to replenish their people as fast anymore, and they're so spread out now that it allows Ukraine to kind of hit in spots where they're weak. As far as the Olympics, I'm definitely a half pipe snowboarding kind of guy. I like watching these people do things that I can't even fathom.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just insane. And I certainly, the bobsled and luge, I mean, it's just insane the fact that they're just going at that speed down this little tube. But, I don't know what makes you think you'd want to ever do that. But no, those things are the fun things I like to watch. I'm not into I love athletics, so everything I watch, I'm amazed by. But those few disciplines, I'm just like, whoa, it's crazy.
I'm glad you raised the snowboarding as they come down these hills and then they flip 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 times in the air. Yeah. And the shot of the camera work on this has been incredible because it's pointing up and you can see the stars in the sky and the snow falling, and it's just quite amazing. Yeah. Judy, my wife, and I, mostly her, but I've learned because I've watched it with her, the ice skating. I mean, we like to watch that, and that's got a special drama to it in the sense of the partners and everything, and then the skill, and then it's just beautiful to watch the ice skaters, the dance ice skaters especially.
I would weigh in here, but I haven't watched any Olympics. I used to watch Olympics all the time, but my wife has me watching movies, and I recommend a show for you guys, Riot Women, about a menopausal group of women who from a rock band. So check that out.
All right.
Did you see it?
It's pretty good. Yeah. It's a pretty
anybody we know in it?
Not anybody. It's all British actors, you go across the pond, but their music is pretty fun. So your wives will like it. So I advise you to watch it. You get a little bit of everything on this show. Movies.
Yes. Wasn't expecting that one. Yes.
Hey, have a great Wednesday. For anyone who made it through the whole show, thanks for watching. And on behalf of David Bonior, Stephen Briggs, and Brian Brady, have a great week. Talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.